in their capacity as CEO of Rendzo Network. Welcome to Channel Africa. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your listeners, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Septi. Such a wonderful initiative the summit is. What do you hope the delegates will bring to the table in this conversation? Because it really is a mixed bag of custodians that are very, very important for this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our starting point is that South Africa, the continent of Africa, is so rich in culture and heritage. It's so richly endowed, and those are resources that can be used to drive, economic development, and as you mentioned in your intro, cohesion and forward movement across the continent. And the vehicle, of course, that we are using for that, as an organization that's involved in tourism, is tourism. Looking at how we can, use tourism as a vehicle for the development, the preservation, and the deployment of those rich cultural and heritage to drive economic development across the continent. So we believe that those who will be coming will obviously be bringing perspectives from their own backgrounds, home countries, but also it will be a rich conversation where we all say, what is it that we can do at national level, but also at continental level to tap those resources? Think of, for instance, African indigenous knowledge systems, to tap those resources to drive economic development of our continent forward.
Septi, you've touched on it, indigenous knowledge. Because it's going to be one of the most important topics on the agenda. How are we going to ensure that this wisdom is respected, is protected, and is also integrated into modern tourism models?
Look, it's a very important question, and it's a very important focus of the forum. We are blessed to have as one of our speakers a continental initiative called the Afrika Institute of Indigenous Knowledge Systems, which is the initiative of our Department of Science, Technology and Innovation here in South Africa, but it's in collaboration with a number of universities across various countries on the continent. And this particular institute, as a research institute, as a knowledge center, a center of excellence, is going to be guiding the conversation of the forum precisely in the direction of the question that you are asking. First of all, to say, what are these indigenous knowledge systems? And we know that Africa is very rich in those, given the diversity of the continent.
Yeah.
How are those indigenous knowledge systems, firstly, preserved, secondly, developed and enhanced, and thirdly, how are we using those indigenous knowledge systems for the further advancement of our continent? Now, of course, the kinds of speakers that we've selected are people from various countries who are very familiar with the subject of indigenous knowledge systems, not just in Africa, but in other parts of the world as well. We have speakers from Canada, from Ireland, from Chile, and of course from the African continent, Namibia, and so on, South Africa. So these people are going to be reflecting from those various backgrounds and sharing experiences in terms of how this issue is addressed in their own context and what it is that we can learn as the African continent in terms of how we harness the richness of our indigenous knowledge systems for general development, including economic development.
It sounds amazing, and I think as you speak and talk about how this is going to be an international conversation, it just gives it so much more depth. Septi, let's talk about then how people can get involved. Clearly, the delegation is already sort of decided on, but talk to us about how the general public can perhaps get involved. Is it going to be online? Can we attend? How does it work?
Unfortunately, this particular one is not available online, but registration is still open. I can share the website address where those who are interested can take a look, and it's quite straightforward. It's Heritage Tourism .Africa, Africa with a C. So Heritage Tourism .Africa. We are still taking registrations until very close to the forum. The forum is on the 25th and the 26th, and registrations are still open, I think, until about the 20th. And so there's still an opportunity for people to participate. I mean, one of the things that I would really like to mention here, which makes us very excited, is that we're going to kick off the forum. Well, on the first day, we've actually curated specific culture and heritage experiences in and around Johannesburg, which are not typically showcased in your typical, tourism itinerary. And these have to do with Johannesburg's, history as a mining city. So, focusing on mining heritage, focusing on cultural heritage, of course, the richness of music across the continent. We have that, and then we have, human origins. These are not your typical experiences that are showcased to tourists. So we've intentionally packaged those experiences, which will showcase in the morning of the 25th. But in the afternoon, quite exciting is that we're going to be screening a documentary that tells, untold African stories, again, focusing on culture and heritage across. We think that those are very interesting components of our program.
Right. Thank you so much. I think we're going to have to leave it there, Septi. Thank you very much for the time. And I think Mmatsheko would be very proud as you really incorporate some very important themes into this conversation. That is Septi Bukula joining us in his capacity as CEO of Rendzo Network. They're going to be hosting the African Heritage Cultural and Indigenous Tourism Forum that's going to be taking place for 2 days, 25th and 26th. Go online for more details. 1:32, let's go to the sports desk.